Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is March the 2nd, 2024, and we are continuing our study on the 3 days and 3 nights of Jesus' crucifixion. Now, when we left off, let me get this chart here. We had read through Luke 17, but then when I got to John, I realized that we had not read where John had been examined, where John had been before Pilate. So we have to go back up, and we're going to start here at John 18:28, and then we'll go down and continue on. So let's get this out of the way. And we'll pick up at John 18:28. If this computer will cooperate. So, Jesus before Pilate. This is the first time he's before Jesus. Jesus goes before Pilate. We read down to the second time in Luke, but we need to backtrack a little bit. Then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment, and it was early, 4405. I forget what that meant. I'm sorry, I forgot what that meant. We already know it's high noon, but it was early after the beginning of the day, early high noon. It was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. You know what? I went back and forth with this because the Pharisees were wrong about so many things. I could not tell if they were just wrong about the Passover. This is the first day, mind you. This is high noon on, hold on, let me show you. $18.28. Here we go, right here. This is Wednesday evening, high noon. So they cross-examined. They tried to find a witness against Jesus. They couldn't. They met together in the morning after supper. I keep saying lunch, but supper. They ate supper at high noon, or they just ate right through it, one of the two. And then they got Jesus to testify against himself, and then they headed to Pilate. So this is early, right at the beginning of the day, high noon. So I'm thinking to myself, are they saying that they would not be able to eat the Passover because they believe the false doctrine of like the Nazarites, where you wait 7 days or something like that, or the spreading of the, because this is literally the Passover supper is just, you can eat that. It's like a regular meal. I don't know about clean or anything like that. There's just so many false doctrines in here, according to the Pharisees. But in the end, it doesn't meet the Bible qualifications for unclean. Nothing does, because it's just made up. But, some things do. Wait, hold on. A person is not unclean. Jesus keeps telling us that. There are unclean foods. Let me just be clear about that, okay? But I didn't know what they believed. In the end, it doesn't meet the Bible qualifications because they're all the way over here. The Passover isn't until here. So I marked it as just being made up. That's why I have it marked in pink. Gotta move all this stuff out of the way so you can see. Yeah, that's why I have this marked in pink, because it's not real. It just doesn't fit the logical. It just doesn't fit in the Bible. Whether or not they believe they were going to be unclean, I couldn't say. That's why I had to mark it as wrong. They were wrong about so many things. And if it doesn't say they believe that they were going to be unclean, then it's got to just be a lie. Anyway, but that they might eat the Passover. It's just something to deceive you, to make you think that it's all happening over the course of one day. Just another deception. Pilate then went out unto them and said, What accusations bring ye against this man? They answered and said unto him, If he were not a... Oh, by the way, if you saw the previous video, I thought when I just did a brief look at this, I thought that they said it because they were at this day. No, they're way over here at the very first day. This is when all of this took place. It wasn't this day. They just had things mixed up to the point where I had to go through step by step by step and put everything in order and match things up in order to see the full picture. And sometimes it was just like a one word here. I mean, not like one word, like one phrase here and another phrase there. And I'm like, okay, those two go together. It was a puzzle. Anyway, Pilate then went out unto them and said, What accusations bring ye against this man? They answered and said unto him, If he were not a malefactor, we would not have delivered him up unto thee. Then said Pilate unto them, Take ye him and judge him according to your law. The Jews therefore said unto him, It is not lawful for us to put any man to death, that the saying of Jesus might be fulfilled which he spake, signifying what death he should die. I don't remember what I did not like about this. It just did not seem, I know it doesn't seem prophetic. I'm telling you what, it doesn't seem prophetic now because it's not specific. What death he should die? I don't know what that means. I guess Jesus said he's going to be crucified, or I don't know. It could be right. Let me just change it because I don't remember my logic behind that. Anyway, see how rude they are to Pilate? They bring him to Pilate, and now they are getting all arrogant, and if he wasn't this, then if he wasn't guilty, then we wouldn't have brought him to you. Just haughty. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall. Again, no, it does not say. This word is not necessary. It does say that Pilate came out to meet them, but it never says that he went into the judgment hall. So that again is not needed. You would just say, then he went back into the judgment hall, or then he went into the judgment hall. This is totally unnecessary. They added this word in because it's not necessary. And they added it in down below as well, is why I just couldn't let it slide. I could have let it slide, but they did it more than once. And called Jesus in with him. So he called Jesus in with him and said unto him, Art thou the King of the Jews? Jesus answered and answered him, Sayest thou this thing of thyself, or did others tell it thee of me? Pilate answered, well, I just stopped because he asked them that outside. So that's a kind of an odd thing to say if he examined them outside in the other scriptures where he asked him, was he King of the Jews? And he said, Thou sayest. Here, he's like, who told you to ask me that? No, I don't think Jesus said that. We're going to leave it, but if I had more time to think about it, it doesn't sound right. Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? I must have thought about it because I remember pondering this part. Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate then therefore said unto him, art thou a king then? Jesus answered, thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth heareth my voice. He did not say he was a king. Okay, but anyway, maybe he did. I don't know. Let's just go on. Pilate said unto him, what is truth? Edgar Cayce, if you're familiar with the prophet Edgar Cayce, he said that Jesus was actually going to answer this question for him, but Pilate turned and went away. Pilate turned around and left after he asked it. And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews and said unto them, I find in him no fault at all. So whatever I decided that this must have been accurate. So I do believe he said that now. Anyway. Pilate said unto him, what is truth? And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews and said unto them, I find in him no fault at all. This, however, is not accurate and does not belong here. It's out of order. And it actually did happen. They took it out of order, though, so I did not put it on your chart. It did happen. The words and everything are accurate, because they would not have added this word again here because it didn't happen the first time. So they chopped it out of its original position and put it here and left it intact. This word again was probably the prophet's writing, but since it's in the wrong place, it doesn't fit. But ye have a custom that I should release unto you one at the Passover. Will ye therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews? Then cried they all again, say again. See, he hasn't said anything to them about, they haven't cried anything to him, saying, not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. And you see how this is a half a sentence, like it's now, and then they're going to give you this information about Barabbas, but then it just stops after it says he's a Barabbas. He hasn't said anything about Barabbas. They haven't said anything about, don't give us this man, because he hasn't offered anything. This is the first time it was brought up. But this belonged in the second or third rendition of where he was before Pilate. But because they were trying to squeeze all of it together, they messed up and they left this again in here. This would have happened after he offered him the first time. And likewise, the next chapter, they had him scourged. He did not get scourged here. He did get scourged, but it goes with this previous verse. It goes with this. So you can find a place for it if you like, but it's in the wrong place. I just marked it wrong and then just kept it going. So both of those had to be taken out. So hold on, let me see where I am. So we've already read Luke. It won't hurt to go over it again, because that's the only other rendition of this that we have. There was only two verses in Matthew and Mark. So Matthew 27, let's just leave this here, 27, 11 and 12 was they accused, but we don't have to see that again, we remember, where they stood in front of Pilate and accused him the first time. And the same thing happened with Mark. Luke, Pilate found no fault in him, and he sent him to Herod. Then he traveled to Herod. That was the next day. And then he came back. Well, Herod questioned him. That was all day Thursday evening. And then they came back to Pilate. on Friday. And that's where we left off, verse 17. So let's go ahead and read 19, chapter 2. This is his second time before Pilate. Actually, I want to stop here. We're going to read Matthew 27:15 first, because that's only 2 verses. And then we'll come back and read this, which is 10 verses. 27:15. So this is the second time they appeared before Pilate. Now at the feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would, and they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? So hold on. This part, they were gathered together, is where it stopped. Pilate, this part is separate. So we're going to stop here because the 17, the first part is what happened. And that's going to match up with, hold on, let me mark this. That's what's going to match up with John. And we've already read Luke. And we may take another peep at Luke just to refresh our memory. Luke 23:13 through 17. It's only 4 verses. Let's just go there now. Luke. So 13 through 17. And Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, said unto them, Ye have brought this man unto me as one that perverteth the people, and behold, I have examined him before you, and have found no fault in this man touching these things whereof you accuse him. No, nor yet Herod, for I sent you to him, and lo, nothing worthy of death is done unto him. I will therefore chastise him and release him, for of necessity I must release one unto them at the feast. Okay, so now all of this is happening Friday evening. This day right here. So let's go and read what happened Friday evening in John's rendition. And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they plaited Jesus is in the soldiers' custody now, because they would have taken him there and left him there after they came back from seeing Herod. So he would have stayed there until Pilate was available again for consultation. Okay? And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put on him a purple robe, and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know. Remember in the previous verses that we read, he called the people together. So now he's telling them, I brought you all here, and I called you here to let you know that I find no fault in him. Then he brought Jesus forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. Because he wants them to see how pathetic he is. He wants them to feel sorry for him, so he won't have such a hard time releasing this man, because he's trying to let him go, because he sees him as innocent. When the chief priests, therefore, and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify. So cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said unto him, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. So this is the second time he's told him that. The Jews answered him, we have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard this, he said, heard that saying, he was the more afraid, because now he's thinking, the Son of God? What are these people trying to get me into? But he won't stand up to them. They just approached him like all haughty. He just would not stand up to them. Herod didn't have any problems at all. Herod was like, yeah, take him all away. I'm not doing anything to him. He's innocent. I'm not playing your games. All he had to do, Sister White says, is just stand up to them. And it would have been ended. But he wouldn't do it. And went again into the judgment hall, and saith unto Jesus, whence art thou? But so he would have taken Jesus back into the judgment hall with him. But Jesus gave him no answer. And saith Pilate unto him, speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and have power to release thee? Jesus answered, thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivereth me unto thee have the greater sin. He's talking about the Pharisees. And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. That was the end of the day. So that was the end of the evening. But in the morning, this part happened in the morning. But the Jews cried out, saying, if thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. I don't know if this is what they were crying out that he heard in the building. I can't recall. But however it worked out, Pilate was in the hall, and the people were screaming outside to get him to come out. So 1912 part A is where he ended the court. He was determined to let Jesus go free. So the next morning, the people showed up at the hall to cry out for Pilate to release the annual prisoner. All of Pilate's meetings, or the two, they've both been held in the evening. So they needed to get there early in the morning in order to keep that prisoner from being crucified. So they all got up early and they're there at the hall demanding that Pilate come out. And they're screaming to force Pilate to come out and release the prisoner. That's what they're doing. But the Jews cried out, saying, if thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. I don't think this is the first thing. I think in the other books it says it a little bit differently. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus. I think this is just a common way of saying when he heard them say that. When he heard that saying, he brought Jesus forth and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called the pavement. And this is where he would render his judgment. But in Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Passover at about the 6th hour. And he said unto the Jews, behold your king. But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, we have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Jesus and led him away. And that's where I stopped. So that's all of John. So let's see where we pick up at. That's all of John. We'll do Luke first. That seems to have the least amount of reading. And then we'll do Mark. And then we'll go and do Matthew. 20 to 22. And then 9 to 14. Yeah, that seems to have the least amount of reading. Unless there's... No, there's more. Okay, 20 to 24. Yeah. Okay, we'll keep it in that order. I don't think we read Luke 18. Let's just go ahead and read this now. And they cried out all at once, saying, "Away with this man, and release unto us Barabbas." So this is where they're screaming. Yeah, okay, so this is where they're screaming, and Pilate is in the hall, and they want him to release. No, he would have offered. Okay, I'm reading it out of order. Maybe let's check Mark first and see if it makes a little bit more sense. Mark. We left off at Mark. Yeah, that's where we left off. Mark 6. Now, at the feast, the day before the feast, this is Friday morning, right here. Now at the feast he released unto them one prisoner, whomever they desired. And there was one named Barabbas, which he lay bound with him. Let me start over. And there was one named Barabbas, which lay bound with them, that had made insurrection with him, who had committed murder in the insurrection. And the multitude, crying aloud, began to desire him to do as he had ever done unto them. Here they're talking about the tradition of him letting go of one prisoner. But Pilate answered them, saying, "Will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews?" So he's pleading for Jesus, for he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. But the chief priests moved the people that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. And Pilate answered and said again unto them, "What will ye then that I should do unto whom ye call the King of the Jews?" And they called out again, "Crucify him." Then Pilate said unto them, "Why, what evil hath he done?" And they cried out the more exceeding, "Crucify him." And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Jesus, when he had scourged him, to be crucified. And here Jesus is mocked before he's crucified. We'll just read this and then we'll go on real quick. And the soldiers led him away into the hall called Praetorium, and they called together the whole band, and they clothed him with purple, and platted a crown of thorns, and put it about his head, and began to salute him, "Hail the King of the Jews." And they smote him on the head with a reed, and did spit upon him, and bowing their knees worshipped him. And when they had mocked him, they took off the purple from him, and put his own clothes on him, and led him out to crucify him. A lot of these are similar, a lot of these mockings. I had to just determine whether or not it was a first, second, third, fourth, or if it was legitimate. And so that's why you'll see that I have, even though they sound similar and they did similar things, I have them listed as being mocked several times. I just had to make a determination. Okay, so now let's go back to Luke. We'll read that and then we'll finish off in Matthew. And when they had cried all at once, saying, "Away with this man, and release unto us Barabbas, who for a certain sedition made in the city, and for murder was cast into prison." Pilate, therefore, willing to release Jesus, spake again to them. But they cried, saying, "Crucify him, crucify him." And he said unto them the third time, "Why, what evil has he done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go." He had said he found no fault in him, and this was the third time that he tried to defend him and release him. And they were instant with loud voices. This doesn't mean instant. This means they pressured him. They were insistent. They were instant with loud voices requiring that he might be crucified, and the voices of them and of the chief priests prevailed. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. And he released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired. But he delivered Jesus to their will. And that's where I stopped. So we just need to read through John, and that will wrap up all of the scriptures. 27:17b. Okay. So he gathered all the people together. No, they gathered themselves together at his door. And when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent... They had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, Have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said unto them, Whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said unto them, What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all say unto him, Let him be crucified. And the governor said, Why? What evil has he done? But they called out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. So he delivered him to be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this person. See ye to it. Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and on our children. Then released Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. And then Jesus was mocked again. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him, and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit upon him, and took the reed, and smote him on the head. And after they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. And that concludes my study on the 3 days of Jesus. All 3 days are, well, yeah. They tried to put all 3 into one, but there are distinct things that happened that just could not have happened over the course of one day. It was just too much. It's just too much. Anyway, I'll attach this for your review, and I will I'll post it as well, and I'll talk with you in the next video. Hold on, because I feel like there's something I want to say that I'm missing. Hold on. Maybe it's because we didn't read through the last part of this. I'm not really sure. It just seems like I was going to say something, and then I stopped, and I never did finish I didn't say what I wanted to say. But I don't remember what it was that I wanted to say. So the people here. Pilate presents Jesus to the people one last time. That was the 3rd time. He offered to release Jesus because of the feast. His wife sends a message to release Jesus because of the dream. The chief priests and elders persuade the multitude to release Barabbas. Pilate calls Jesus Christ or King of the Jews. He called him Christ in one place and King of the Jews in the other. The people demanded Jesus be crucified. Pilate witnesses the third time Jesus is guiltless and has done no evil, and then he sentences him to be scourged and crucified. He releases Barabbas. He delivers Jesus to be scourged, or he sentences him up here. He delivers Jesus to be scourged, and he delivers him to be crucified. He's beaten and mocked by the soldiers, which we read that. And then he's crucified here. He's crucified from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. I wanted to say something about that darkness as well. It didn't get dark physically. The darkness was the withdrawal of the darkness was maybe that went with, I should have said this in the 3 days and 3 nights, in the first portion of the 3 days and 3 nights, because it didn't actually physically get dark. They were still running around and doing things from 6 to 9. Jesus was crucified. He died at 9. So the soldiers were there putting him up and hanging him up on the pole. The people were there watching. The darkness was symbolic of God withdrawing himself from the people. So that too could have been part. No, because it was the next day. It was, yeah, that too could have been part of it. It was 3 days, 3 nights. It's the crucifixion. Once Jesus died, that was it. It was over. It had been fulfilled. His death was at 9 a.m. Anyway, I still don't remember what it was that I wanted to say. Maybe it was about the darkness, that it didn't actually physically get dark. But whatever it is, I'll either have to post it or I'll have to say it in another video, because I'm going to close out there, and I will talk with you in the next video.